Hi, everyone. I want to spend a couple minutes talking about punctuating dialogue. It's a little bit detaily, but I know you can do this. Okay, so here we've got a nice normal scene. Down in the kitchen, Gav had been effectively pinned down by Marcia, who had come at him with a book. Jenna was putting a full plate beside him while the fearless toddler climbed into his lap for her story. I grabbed my own salad with plenty of beans and sat listening to him render Winnie the Pooh. By the time Marcia was satisfied, the new fellow looked a bit stunned. Okay, that's just description. There's no quotations going on, but here we go. Now we're into the dialogue. We got people talking back and forth. So number one, every time the speaker changes, there's a new paragraph. So here we go. I happen to know where the paragraph changes are, where the speakers change. This is said, you know what, I'm going to color it. This is said by the character Abby. So let's highlight it pink. And the other person is Gav. So we're going to leave that plain. His eyes crinkled. Okay. Then it goes back to Abby doing something. Highlight it. Now Gav does something. Okay. All right. We're going to do all of this. Each person gets their own paragraph, even if those make really tiny paragraphs. That is okay. When it comes to dialogue, the more clarity, the better. Okay, so where it's pink is where Abby is speaking. So it might be, and Abby is the narrator. Well done, we exist to entertain Marcia, but you don't know who's speaking. So what if I go, I said? Perfectly good. Okay. This part here, the I said, he said, she laughed, he shouted, whatever. That is called the tag. Oh, maybe I can make a little thingy here. That's called the tag. The dialogue tag right there. You do not have to have a tag every time, but it does keep people from getting confused, keeps your readers from getting confused about who is speaking. Okay, here is a guideline. The things that come out of someone's mouth are always in quotation marks. I think everyone knows this. The actual quotation is attached to the tag by a comma. The default is to use a comma. But I'm going to tell you something interesting. If what got said, like right here, resistance is futile, he asked, and I laughed. So this is clearly the tag. This is clearly the quotation. Why isn't this a comma? Ooh. Okay, so connect the quotation to the tag with a comma, except the question mark and the exclamation point have a higher rank. All right, so let's make that a comment. But all right. So if what you're saying includes a question mark, and yet, oh, okay, here's another rule. Can't double stack punctuation on the same level. So a question mark reaches all the way down to the bottom line, right? If we were underlining here, let's try underline. The question mark reaches all the way down, and a comma is down at that line, and a period is down at that line, and an exclamation point is down at that line. So he's not shouting, "Resistance is futile!" So we don't even have to carry about a exclamation point. It's not a plain statement. Don't have to worry about a period. We know we're supposed to try to use a comma unless the actual thing in the actual quotation marks is a question, in which case you've got to put a question mark in there because that's how your reader finds out that it's a question. Okay, so question mark or exclamation point will have a higher rank. So resistance is futile, he asked, because I cannot also put a comma there, right? And the comma or the question mark or the exclamation point has to touch a letter immediately following. Here's the letter and it immediately follows. I cannot put that question mark out here. No, it must touch a letter right before it. Okay, he asked and I laughed. His eyes crinkled. So this is still a paragraph about Gav. Great. Now the action changes. Abby is going to speak and her tag is actually very long. That's okay. I leaned forward and held out my hand. There's the comma. It's touching the word to the left. We met last night. I'm Abby Wheeler. Now notice what she said was two complete short sentences. We met last night. Fact, period. I'm Abby Wheeler. It's a fact. You put in a period. No problem. What if this went a different way around? We met last night. I'm Abby Wheeler, I said. This whole thing, the fact that I said we met last night, I'm Abby Wheeler, is one sentence, so it gets one period right there. This is a teeny sentence. It gets a period. This is a teeny sentence, but it's the last thing before the tag. A plain old period is not of higher rank than a comma. I'm Abby Wheeler, comma, I said. So like logically, it'd be she said a complete sentence, so there's the period, and then it's connected to a tag, so there's a comma, and we can't have both, so we have to take away the period that is the lower rank. All right, he took it. That is separate. It's a new paragraph because it's Gav's move now. Oh, wait, let me go backwards because we have to go to where she held out her hand. There we go. He took it, meaning my hand. So they're shaking hands now. But this is not a tag. It's not, he took it and said, comma. It's just a teeny little sentence. This quotation right here does not have any tag at all. I'm Gav Saziski. I noticed your address. Nice to meet you. So why is there no tag? Number one, it's obvious who's speaking because he says, I'm Gav Saziski. Number two, it's obvious who's speaking because I, Abby Wheeler, just spoke. And there are only two people going. If you've got 3 or 4 people going along, you need to say, Marcia said, Abby said, Gav said, the dog said. Pretty much every line. Every quotation, because otherwise your reader will get lost. Okay, so here she says something. Can we skip the part where I dropped a pile of novels on you? Question. That's not a tag. That doesn't have a tag. She just stopped there and said best to say it right out and not feel awkward later. How do I know that's not a tag? Well, there's a capital letter there. Started a new sentence. It can be a new sentence. Abby is someone who talks to herself, and whoever talks to themselves in full formal sentences, like, I thought it was best to say it right out. No, best to say it right out. Gav shook his head. Period. totally separate from, never happened, period. But then he indicated his plate. They're serious. And that I use as the tag for, well, he pointed to his plate and here's what he said. They're serious, because his plate was really full. I watched Tim sheepdog his various nieces and nephews, I could never remember how many there were officially, out of the kitchen and up the stairs. They're serious. Just wait for Friday night fish and chips. And if she was excited about that, let's put a tag on there. I exclaimed. Wait for Friday night fish and chips, I exclaimed. Okay, so now there's a tag, so there should be a comma, except got a higher rank from the actual punctuation for the sentence she just said. Just wait for Friday night fish and chips. So the exclamation point stays, because you can't have both an exclamation point and the comma in the same place. Nice. Oh, what if the tag is in the middle? What if someone is saying something really long? Like, let's take away the pink highlighter because it's confusing me. Oh, I love fish and chips. That came out of his mouth. He said, but that was not the complete sentence. I had those when I was a kid. Okay. So, this whole thing is a sentence. Oh, I love fish and chips. He said, I had those when I was a kid. So there's a period. But also, what he said ends here. I had those when I was a kid. That's his whole sentence. Oh, I love fish and chips. I had those when I was a kid. We can't have two periods, even though it makes so much logical sense. So what we do is we take away the one that is not touching a letter. If you've got a down at the bottom piece of punctuation, they've got to touch letters. And that usually the letter is to its left. There are rare cases, like look right here. This is the letter is to its right. But that is one of the very, very rare cases because it's got to completely touch the whole quotation. So, okay, here we go. Oh, I love fish and chips. I had those when I was a kid, but we put he said right in the middle. What do? Well, we know between the words and the tag, there's got to be a comma or a higher ranking one if it's appropriate. But here we are between the tag and the quote where there's got to be a comma. That's exactly right. You put a comma where the quotation breaks and leads to the tag, and another comma where the tag breaks and goes back to the quote. Oh, what if this first word does not naturally begin with a capital letter? Oh, I love fish and chips. Fish and chips, he said, with tartar sauce. Okay. I love fish and chips with tartar sauce. This is not a new sentence, so it doesn't get the capital letter. They're both set off from the tag by a comma. We're good. Thank you.